Hallelujah. Come on.
Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath class, the 16th of July, 2022. And so last night on our evening Sabbath class, Friday night, beginning of the Sabbath, we was dealing with on Clubhouse, the Lord of Hosts, and who he was. And so I'm just gonna kind of segue off into that a little bit today, because I'm gonna do a part 2 on Clubhouse at 2 o'clock. So I'm trying to keep it all going, because it's is the most important topic. It is finding out who our God is, truly is, really is. So uh, I'll be dealing with today the Lord of Hosts and the eyes of Yahweh. So connecting that. So I'm asking everybody to like, share, subscribe to Prophets of Awakening channel, and hit the notification button if you can. And for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament and the so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Lord of Hosts. Shalom and welcome everyone to Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our Sabbath class. We're going to do our moment of silence, Sabbath prayer, the Psalms, current events, a little need to know information. Then we'll do some Q&A, and then we go into do the Bible discussion. Okay, so this is this moment of silence for the Lord of Hosts and all of you doing to bring about our deliverance that was prophesied about some 2,500 years ago. So, oh Lord, we thank you for your great mercy and your great power and your wisdom. And we tired waiting for your powerful deliverance of your people Israel. When we come this Sabbath day, doubtless that you will appear, that you will gather your nation from among these wicked Gentiles. Oh Lord, you spake through your prophet Isaiah and said that you would help Abraham's seed, whom you had scattered. And we see your hand today doing just that. You said, oh Lord, that you would remove the darkness from around us. Tearing out, oh Lord, the latter days are here, and we are waiting and watching for you, oh Lord. Peace be unto you. Okay. So I'm going to read a song. Okay. I'm going to read Psalms 37. Okay. It's the true state of the wicked. Fret not thyself because of the evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut off like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord, do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as a light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from evil, from anger, and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. But yet a little while, and the wicked shall be cut off. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, and slay such as of upright conversation. Their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bow shall be broken. A little that a righteous man have is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arm of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholdeth the righteous. The Lord knoweth the day of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the day, in the evil times, in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as fat of lambs. They shall consume, and just smoke shall they consume away. The wicked borroweth, and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now I am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, or the seed begging bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil, and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hands, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord, and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright. For the end of that man is peace, but the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off, but the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in a time of trouble, and the Lord shall help them and deliver them, and he shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trusted in him. Okay, that was Psalms 37. Anybody have any comments on that or anything they want to say about it?
One of my favorites. One of my favorites. Whenever you are feeling a certain type of way, you just, feel as though the evildoers are winning. Just you have to refer back to this. And, it's just so many, so much goodness in this song. When you're reading it, just trust in the Lord and wait. He never fails. He knows what's best.
Okay. Yeah, that's a song that you should keep in, keep dear to you because anytime times of trouble come, it's a comfort. You just, read it and apply it. So and it's comforting. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna go to our current events, and I got a couple of current events. And then, like I said, I'll do a little need to know information, and I go into my Q&A. Then I go into the Bible discussion. Okay. Shalom, sister. Okay. Shalom. Okay. Okay. Shalom. So with that being said, I was gonna play this first video.
For centuries, Ukraine has been part of what Russians call the motherland.
Crowds below cheering as the blue and yellow banner of independent Ukraine was hoisted.
I was there for Ukraine's first day of independence, their Dien Nezalezhnosti, or Dien Nezavisimist in Russian. There was an extraordinary outburst of emotion from Ukrainians and Russian Ukrainians, half and half, that were out on the street, and the flags being waved, and the extraordinary feeling that they were giving birth to an independent nation that was rising from the ashes of a failed empire. And now, of course, these two peoples are at war with each other. And that's where we are today. And I think that the inability to bring this war to a close anytime in the foreseeable future is going to be driven in large part by both the shared history and how closely connected they were, leading to the war crimes Ukraine is going through right now. This is much deeper than just let's figure out how we can get both sides to get along. I'm Ian Bremmer, president of Eurasia Group, and I just wrote the book, The Power of Crisis. So I started my PhD back in 1989, and there's no question that if you were thinking about the world as a political scientist, you were thinking about the Soviet Union.
I'm making this quick video because it has been 1 month since joining the Cashflow One.
In the former Soviet Union, there were 15 Soviet socialist republics, and they all had political and cultural and social institutions. The Soviet Union was meant to be this crucible of all of these national differences. I referred to this as matryoshka nationalism, the nesting dolls, where you have ethnic groups and territories that are aligned with them inside other ethnic groups and territories. So you've got the Soviet Union, and inside the Soviet Union, you have the 15 republics. Then inside those republics, you have autonomous regions and autonomous areas. And so as a consequence, even though the Russians and the Ukrainians felt very fraternal and connected, there was a different Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic to the Russian Socialist Republic. And interestingly, when Stalin was the commissar of nationalities, he was very involved in not only creating a lot of these territories, but also moving people around. This brought Russians into these territories to ensure that if the Soviet Union ever fell apart, that there were these tripwires that would actually create massive confrontation that would help to ensure that the Soviet Union couldn't actually implode. You don't take the Russians at face value when they say this sort of thing, but it was also clear that.
So it's it's a great.
A total number of 180,000 troops is fewer than the Ukrainian army. I mean, that invasion is sort of 0.8 to 1. Anybody that's ever played Risk understands that, you have an advantage holding territory. But Putin instead decided, no, I think that Biden's weak. I think Macron is going his own way. I know Merkel's gone, and this new chancellor, Olaf Scholz from the Social Democratic Party, those are the ones that like to work with the Russians. It's wintertime, right? They all need my gas. I've got maximum influence right now. We saw what happened with Afghanistan. When I met with Biden a year ago in Switzerland, he didn't even bring up Ukraine. It was all about cyber. I told my guys to stop, so we're good over there. They want to pivot to Asia. They're focused on China. Meanwhile, Xi Jinping's just said I'm his best friend. Friends without limits globally. It's all working. So I have a unique opportunity to invade Ukraine, remove Zelensky, and furthermore, I can actually undo the biggest humiliation in Russian history. I can recreate the Russian Empire. Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia together. That's what he believed. And it was the single biggest geopolitical mistake made by any leader on the global stage since the wall came down in 1989. The misjudgment was massive. The failure was immense and immediate, and the consequences for Putin and for Russia will be permanent.
Okay, anybody got any comments on that? Okay. Shalom.
People whose home has sustained storm or hurricane damage can now file for additional.
Okay. Shalom. Yeah, so this other video is
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Biden has met with Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Earlier today, Biden traveled from Israel to the Palestinian Authority's presidential compound in Bethlehem. Along the way, his motorcade passed billboards and banners protesting U.S. support for Israel's occupation, as well as the killing of Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who was shot dead by Israel's military last May next to the Jenin refugee camp. In a joint news conference with President Abbas, Biden claimed the U.S. continues to support a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He also defended the U.S. response to the killing of Abu Akleh.
She was an American citizen, and a proud Palestinian. I hope that her legacy will inspire more young people to carry on her work of reporting the truth and telling stories that are too often overlooked. The United States will continue to insist on a full and transparent accounting of her death, and will continue to stand up for media freedom everywhere in the world.
Biden's remarks came after he rejected a request by Shireen Abu Akleh's family to meet with him during his visit to Israel. Abu Akleh's niece, Lina Abu Akleh, wrote, quote, "We would like Biden to do in Shireen's case what his and previous U.S. administrations have failed to do when other American citizens were killed by Israel. Hold the killers accountable," she said. Meanwhile, Biden's traveling today from Israel's Ben Gurion airport on a direct flight to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where he'll meet senior Saudi officials, including Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Press freedom groups are demanding Biden confront the prince over the killing and dismemberment of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. In 2018, the CIA concluded bin Salman personally ordered his assassination. The House of Representatives has approved $839 billion in new military spending for the coming fiscal year. The National Defense Authorization Act passed on a vote of 329 to 101 with the support of 180 Democrats. Lawmakers overwhelmingly voted down an amendment put forward by progressives that would have shaved $100 billion from the Pentagon budget. They also defeat an amendment to reverse an additional $37 billion piled onto President Biden's record budget request. Meanwhile, all 208 House Republicans voted against an amendment to the NDAA, calling on the Pentagon and federal law enforcement agencies to combat white supremacist and neo-Nazi activity among government workers. Texas has sued the Biden administration over new federal rules ordering physicians and hospitals to provide abortions in cases of medical emergencies, even in states where the procedure is banned. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said in a statement the Biden administration seeking to, quote, transform every emergency room in the country into a walk-in abortion clinic, unquote. Meanwhile, in Indiana, the doctor who recently performed an abortion on a 10-year-old rape survivor is now under investigation. Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita announced the probe against Dr. Caitlin Bernard in an interview with Fox News' Jesse Waters Wednesday night.
We're gathering the information, we're gathering the evidence as we speak, and we're going to fight this to the end, including looking at our licensure.
Jesse Waters Primetime was among the shows on Fox News casting doubt on the 10-year-old child's rape story. In response to the investigation, Dr. Caitlin Bernard tweeted, quote, my heart breaks for all survivors of sexual assault and abuse. I am so sad that our country is failing them when they need us most. Doctors must be able to give people the medical care they need when and where they need it, she said. Abortion is still legal in Indiana up to 22 weeks into a pregnancy. The abortion performed on the 10-year-old girl was actually a medication abortion. She took several pills. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has resigned his post in a letter emailed from Singapore saying Parliament would meet on Saturday to select a new president. Rajapaksa fled Sri Lanka to the Maldives aboard a military jet early Wednesday amidst massive protests demanding his ouster. His resignation from exile sparked jubilation in the streets of the capital, Colombo, Thursday, where protesters continue to demand an end to corruption and nepotism they blame for Sri Lanka's economic collapse.
Okay, anybody have any comments on that? Okay, so with that being said, I was going to give you this need to know information, and we'll do a little Q&A. Okay.
But was the story really new? Now, a tablet called the Crucifixion and Resurrection of Jesus Christ. It is the story that transformed a tiny group of believers into the world's largest religion. But was the story really new? Now, a tablet called the Jesselson Stone, named for respected antiquities collector David Jesselson, has recently surfaced.
We don't have anything like it of such a long, prophetic, biblical inscription from that time on stone.
The Jesselson Stone threatens to destroy the claim that Christ's crucifixion and resurrection were unique.
Wrong.
The sensational claim that made all the headlines was that the writing on the stone indicates that the Christian belief in the resurrection of Jesus wasn't anything new, that the belief that a Messiah might die and be raised after 3 days already existed in Judaism before the time of Jesus.
The tablet, also known as the Gabriel Revelation Stone, tells an apocalyptic story Much of the wording has eroded, but what remains is a vivid tale of Jerusalem besieged by armies, and a final battle in which a prince of princes will combat the Antichrist. But the most interesting passage is line 80, in which the angel Gabriel commands a prince of princes to do something after 3 days. Exactly what that command is, no one is sure. Time has rendered this passage virtually unreadable. But Hebrew University professor Israel Knoll thinks he knows the answer. Knoll believes that Gabriel is commanding the Prince of Princes to rise from the dead after 3 days.
So Gabriel is speaking to this person and he's telling him, commanding him actually, in 3 days, live, resurrect.
Knoll is perhaps the world's leading expert on messianic figures from the time of Christ. He is out to prove that the stone tells the story of the Messiah before Christ, and that Jesus knew of this Messiah and based his own life on him. Knoll's interpretation hinges on a passage in the stone just 4 words long. Most scholars agree that the first 3 words are by 3 days.
So we can see this is line 80. We have first the words Leshloshet Yamin, in 3 days. This is clear, no question about it. But the debate is on the 4th word.
The 4th word has been washed away, and that's where the controversy comes in. According to Israel Knoll, the last word has only one possible meaning: live. To Knoll, the angel Gabriel is commanding a prince of princes by 3 days, live. In ancient Hebrew, the word live is sometimes spelled with 4 letters: Chet, Aleph, Yud, and Hey. But in line 80 on the stone, only the first 3 letters of the mystery word are clear. If the last letter exists and turns out to be the letter Hey, then Knoll's translation is correct. The word is live, proving that the story of the resurrection predated Jesus.
I don't think you can read the tablet. I think that section where he's seeing in 3 days rise is illegible. I don't see those letters there. And by the way, neither does anyone else.
Some scholars believe that the mystery word can be read not as rise or live, but as raise us up. He will raise us up is a common ancient Hebrew phrase meaning God's mercy will be granted to all people. If this translation is accurate, the Jesselson stone is an interesting find, but not a revolutionary artifact.
Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? They see any holes in that? Notice, like I was saying before, when you're dealing with the Dead Sea Scrolls, anybody know anything about the Dead Sea Scrolls? Every time when it comes to the time for them, you know, if they find some kind of artifact or whatever, or some kind of literature, right? When it's time for to bring the truth out, it's not legible, or it's missing, or this verse is gone. You know, that's one of their tactics. And like I said, I played that because of, you know, to me it's a joke because of, you know, out of everything that's on the stone, the very most important thing you need is gone. You know, it faded out. Everything else was, you know, still there, but just what you needed was faded out. The whole thing wasn't faded out. But, you know, it's crazy. And they just do that over and over again, repeatedly. You know, like I said, all through the Dead Sea Scrolls, they got all these scrolls, but you know, all the most important things that Revelations is not legible. Okay. So with that being said, I was gonna open it up for some Q&A. We had that little 2-hour discussion last night on Lord of Hosts, and bringing out the truth about who he is and and how it lines up with the scriptures. So if anybody have any questions on that or anything they heard during the week or came across, now is the time to ask it, and we can talk about it. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna go into this. I got a little something for Q&A.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am about to share with you some of the most shocking content that some of you will ever see. This shocking confession will blow your mind, and we tried to tell you before. I continue to quote this one scripture that says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers of darkness of this world, against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high and low places. There's a reason why I continue to use that passage of scripture, because I need you to understand that it doesn't matter what body you are dealing with, what flesh and blood person you are dealing with. Some of the things that people say and do is a direct connection to the dark world, dark powers, principalities, rulers of darkness of this world, and spiritual wickedness in high and low places. So many times a person will say, well, that person didn't know what they were saying, or they didn't know what they were doing, or they didn't understand what they were saying. So again, it doesn't matter what they know or understand. The fight or the struggle is not with that flesh and blood, but against the powers of darkness that operates in people, both young and old, white and black, male and female. None of that matters. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? So for those of you who may look at this and you draw the conclusion that because a person is a certain age, that they couldn't know any better. I remember some time ago, and I'm going to share a video clip with you all in just a moment. But I remember some time ago, I shared a video of an old woman that was close to 100 years old. And she was saying some very derogatory, tripped out, disgusting words. And there were those who believed that because of her age and the fact that she was senile or whatever, that her words and her actions should have been excused. Those are the very people who didn't understand that that woman who was saying these things was under the influence of demonic suggestion. So even if you want to call it dementia or you want to call it whatever you want to call it still means that something was able to take hold of her body and produce that type of reaction or response in her. And so the content I'm about to share with you right now is a young child. I've censored out their face and everything, but what they are saying is absolutely shocking and should not be ignored. This person, this young person, have some serious problems that need to be dealt with. See, some of you would say that they need some medication, but they need an exorcism. And you may not agree with me, but how many times have we heard of situations where a 10-year-old is being tried as an adult for a heinous crime of murder? Because somebody down the line determined that they're too young to know what they're doing, or they don't understand what they are doing, or what they're saying. They don't understand what they're saying because they're too young. Only foolish people think like that at this point. Demons are operating in any and everybody that they please if the environment allows for that. Anyway, take a listen at this shocking content. And I will be right back. But before I share this with you, No need to flood the comment section with saying you're not shocked by it, okay? I'm talking about those who don't understand that these kind of things are happening. There are a lot of people who don't realize that these kinds of things are happening. So, therefore, to them, this is new information. Okay, if you are already in the know about these things, I'm glad to hear it. But this is for those who need to know that there is a darkness present in this world that cannot be ignored. Take a listen at this, and I will be right back.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
A murderer because I like killing. My brain tells me if I like killing or not. I like killing because when I first watched my grown-up killing show, myself started to like killing, and then my brain started to like tell me what to do with killing in it. So I like murders and I like killing in my life. I'm gonna kill everybody in the world except for my family because they just didn't do anything to me. I just like killing.
So just any type of person, it doesn't matter. What about me?
Yeah.
Even me?
No, not even my teachers either.
Okay, because I'm the first person that you told this. Am I? Yeah.
So I just like killing.
So what are you going to be again when you grow up?
A murderer.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So here you have this very young individual making the confession that when they grow up, they want to be a murderer. And they are very clear on their intentions. But yet you still have those who are going to say he doesn't know what he's saying, or he doesn't understand what he's saying. See, what you don't understand is it doesn't matter what he understands. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. I keep trying to tell y'all this. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Our struggle or our battle is not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and powers, the rulers of darkness of this world, and spiritual wickedness in high and low places. In other words, there are people who are occupied, people who are given in to thoughts. This young man, this young person says that their mind tells them to murder. But yet some of you all will still pass it off as, oh, it's no big deal. Even though we continue to see case after case where children very young are committing heinous acts, you still have those who are willfully ignorant, refusing to believe what is right before their eyes. This young person says that he wants to eliminate everybody except for his family and his teachers and the young woman who was interviewing him. He wants to lay hands on everybody. That is a satanic thought, but there was enough presence of mind to say, not my family or my teacher or you. Only because the young lady asked. The presence of mind was there. But yet some people still refuse to believe. Despite all of the crazy, heinous, wicked things we see happening on this planet, some people will still shovel it off as, oh, that's so innocent. He's so innocent. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know any better. It's the foolishness.
Okay, any comments on that?
Oh my goodness. I think that, just because, we think they are children, they are innocent. I think that a lot of children know, what they are saying and doing. And we hear a lot about children at young ages, killing their parents, brutally killing them. So, in Proverbs 20 and 11, it says, even a child is known by his doings. So we cannot make an excuse for them because they are children. He knew exactly what he was saying.
Right,
And
exactly.
we know children, one thing they do is speak honestly, you know?
Right. Yeah, right. And so, like I was saying before, previous class, was that uh, we don't understand, just like Old and New Testament, not understanding that those are two different books. The God in the Old Testament is different than the God in the New Testament. And when it comes to when the Most High created man, we know that he formed Adam. Adam was laying on the ground with no breath and no life in him. Then he put a spirit in him. He put the breath of life he breathed in him was a spirit. And then he stood on his feet. So the body is separate from the spirit, two different things. So the body is like a jacket. It houses the spirit, right? So these angels are minister spirits, which is another thing nobody seems to understand. These angels are minister spirits. They have a different type of molecular makeup and construct than we do. But if you go to the book of Daniel, then it said the angel entered into him, right? So these angels have the ability to go enter into the body. So we got wicked angels. They got capabilities. So they housing, they coming in. That's what when you're talking about a possession or an indwelling, they done came in and overpowered the person, indwelling in them, and everything they do is really what this being wants to do.
Mm.
And so that's what kept going on right now today, the lack of knowledge. So people not understanding that a lot of the things that's coming to them, and suggestions and things to do, ain't none of them. They being, you got it's other entities that post it up and make a suggestion to you. It's on you whether you listen to it or not. You're thinking it's your ego or part of you, but it ain't. It's outside. Like I was saying before, if you sitting in your house and you don't have no money and a suggestion come to you to go to rob a bank down the street, hell, that ain't you. It's something else within you. And people live their whole life being guided like that, not understanding that you have to cast that out. You gotta. Oh, that's why he says that Abraham lived all his life and he excused evil. David learned not to go to the left or the right. They excused evil. They got rid of it. So that's what that is. We just don't. We've been denied the understanding of that lies. Like I said, just like the Old and New Testament. Not understanding that 13 different times the Israelites was delivered when they called on a God. We calling on a God, so-called God today, we ain't getting delivered. But when they cried it out to God in the Old Testament, they got delivered. Okay?
He spoke such strong words at such a young age, right? So with you saying that, is it that at that age that wicked spirit just has totally taken over? That's is what is sort of shocking to me, because when you think of children, you think of children wanting to play, enjoy life, and so forth, not to be speaking that type of language.
Right. Yeah, like I said, the knowledge of the Most High is not on the earth. It's like for example, Melchizedek. We've been told who Melchizedek is, that he was in Genesis chapter 15, he was Jesus. When you understand that Melchizedek, and when you break it down, the word means king, right? The first part of it means king, and the other one is righteousness. So he's the king of righteousness, king of shalom, king of peace. So then you go back to beginning, and it tells you that Canaan was wise and wisdom and of all knowledge. This long before Abraham. He had the knowledge of it, and he taught mankind. So from Canaan came you know, it was 10 men on the earth that lived before Noah. Noah was the 10th one. They was the teachers of righteousness. They was king of righteousness. They taught everybody else on the planet. Everybody came in there. Well, they don't exist no more because it's been, you know, that's been taken away. So people coming up without knowledge of how everything goes. So that's where wickedness and power and principalities and high places come in there. They operate out of ignorance. But with the right knowledge, you know, you can't operate. Like, I mean, another example is drunkenness. To get drunk, you know, you lose your, like I said, it's a spirit that's been placed in you. So when you drunk, you're not in control of that spirit. So anything come in when you sleep. You know, so that's what nightmares, all that come in there. They entering in and dealing with you when you're not conscious. You're not in control of yourself. And so the same way with ignorance. So like you got people live their whole life without the proper knowledge and being coerced and hoodwinked and guided in all different types of directions because they don't understand that. That's something as simple as that. So that teacher of righteousness, who is Melchizedek, which was Shem after the flood. Shem is the one that came to. Shem the one came to Abraham. And Abraham gave him a tenth of all this stuff. So just based on last night, we were dealing with the Lord of Hosts. We know who the Lord of Hosts is. It's a Most High created 7 angels in the very beginning. The first one he created was Michael. His name means, which is differs in the Hebrew culture and any other culture, names mean everything. That's why every time these angels came, when they came to Samson's mother and father, first thing, when they realized it was an angelic being, they want to know his name. Because his name is going to tell them what his role is. So Michael El means he who is like Yahweh, which is, he's second in charge. He's over the Most High's army. He's the one in control of the Most High army. That's why he got a glistening sword. That's who Yahweh can't deal with mankind. He's a consuming fire.
Right.
And he can't deal with nothing. He can't deal with no sin whatsoever. So he created this being, or an expression of him that deals with mankind. So he deals with the creation. He deals with the angelic beings, and he deals with mankind on the earth. And he's the one that judges sin. He oversees. So ain't nobody else can possibly be the Lord of hosts but him. So, void of that understanding, then you off right there. You don't. So these are the things that happened. The reason why a lot of stuff you see happening on the planet, because we've lost that knowledge of who we are, and how the goings on of things, how it go, and how it don't go, and when something is wicked and when something ain't. So, like I said before, a good example of that is they making millions of dollars off us through Hollywood, showing us the truth, and we watching it, being amazed with it, but not putting together what's being conveyed to you on the movie screen. And one of the examples of that is Fallen. It's a movie called Fallen, Denzel Washington in. So they going in on the ins and outs on angelic beings. They bring up this angel called Aziel that Enoch tell us about. He's the one responsible for all the sin that was brought on the planet when these 200 angels came down. He the one taught mankind how to beautify their face, he told them how, through him and these angels, they showed them how to cause yourself to have an abortion, how to cause a woman to have a miscarriage, how to usurp authority over man, all that. So that's the origins of witchcraft. So if you ask yourself, what's a witch? It's a woman that has, secret knowledge, so-called secret knowledge. So when these angels came down, they said, let us let us choose a wife for ourselves. So they chose women, and when they got into a relationship with these women, they started giving them knowledge that they weren't supposed to have from heaven, from above, and showed them how to apply it, but they showed them in a wicked way. That's the origins of where witches came from. So but who knows that? And that's what it says. From that day forward, the earth and all this creation went off course because they brought down all this stuff that wasn't supposed to be introduced to mankind, that wasn't supposed to be on the planet. And that's where we are today. So that's where the Lord of hosts come in at, which is Michael. He's the one that brings judgment on all that, clean it up. And we talked about last night how that he was on his way to deal with Sodom and Gomorrah. The sin of Sodom and Gomorrah is a direct result of what these 200 angels had done. It had came to a head in Sodom and Gomorrah. So him, Uriel, and Raphael was on their way to judge that place. And in the process, he stopped by to tell Abraham, because he had made a request that he wanted a son. He didn't have no son from his loins to be his heir. When he passed away, he only had his chief servant that was going to receive his inheritance. So it was ordained in heaven that Isaac was going to be born, and that's what the Lord of hosts was on his way to go tell Abraham that, to inform him of that, then to go on to deal with Sodom and Gomorrah. And when you read the story, that's exactly what happened. So my point was, in that telling the story last night, was that you can see it ain't Jesus. And we know it ain't Yahweh because it tells you it's three angels that came. And these three angels is, Yahweh ain't no angel. He created the angel. So we know it ain't Yahweh, and we know it ain't Jesus. So anyway, so that's a lot of the problem that's going on today. But he promised us that he was going to start bringing that truth back out, and then we'll be able to start lining ourselves back out. And that's exactly what's happening. Okay. So let me get this right here right quick. It says, could this same thing be exactly equivalent to the Tower of Babel? Yeah, you can say that. You can say that because what they're doing is, when you understand that it's dimensions, you got parallel dimensions and you got vertical dimensions, and that's what these angels, that's the reason they're different than us. They're able to come in and out of these different dimensions and do things. And so that's what their CERN is. Their CERN is it's their attempt to reach into these other dimensions. And they trying to bring things out, these other dimensions, into these dimensions. That's what these so-called John D and all these wizards or warlocks from back with the witchcraft try to do. That's what the witch of Endor did with Saul. Tried to bring Samuel back. They're trying to go into these different dimensions, and it's the indirect violation against the Most High creation. So that's what CERN is. They're bringing in, they trying to go in and get. That's what Hitler was doing, going in trying to get these, going into these, trying to go into these other dimensions and summon these entities or whatever out of these other dimensions into this dimension. And like I said before, when you do that, you offset the Most High creation, because you bring some from somewhere else to somewhere else, and it ain't supposed to be there. And it's repercussions to that. It's like when the 200 angels came down, they had no business down here. And look at the effects on the planet since they did what they did. Okay. Any other comments on that? Okay. All angels coming together for it. Right, exactly. Yeah, so I'm gonna play this right here, and then I'm gonna go into, like I said, the topic for the Sabbath class is, the Lord of Hosts, right? Most people on this should know who that is and why, and then the eyes of the Lord. And I just want to put some, put a little beef on that because I'm in between Friday night clubhouse class, and I got one at 2:00. And we're dealing with, like I said, the most important topic on the planet, and that's who the God is in the Old Testament. The God is over Israel. Okay, so right here, let me play this.
Having already covered the 7 demon princes of hell, it seems only fitting to also cover the 7 archangels of heaven. Archangels are something mentioned very sparingly in religious texts, and most will only describe a few. In Catholic belief, Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael are the only archangels to be named. The archangels that appear in the Orthodox churches do differ. The Eastern Orthodox Church in particular does mention Michael.
So I'm gonna give you an example of what he's talking about. He said they most scholars, whatever powers that be or whatever, say only mention Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, right? So let me give you some examples of that, because I think that's a disconnect. So in Genesis chapter 18, right quick, we dealt with this a little bit last night, and we'll deal with it some more this evening at 2:00. So if you ain't got nothing to do, you just some popcorn and come on Clubhouse. So Genesis chapter 18 says, the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre in the Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. Abraham sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. He lifted up his eyes, right, and looked, and behold, 3 men. That's Raphael, that's Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, right there. Then over here in Daniel, right quick. Daniel chapter 12 says, Daniel chapter 12 says, starting at verse 2, says, and many of them that slept in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that shall turn many to righteousness as stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words, seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and the knowledge shall be increased. And here we go, verse 5. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood the other 2, one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. That's 2 right there, one on each side of the river. The river Hedekah. Chabar, 69. Daniel 12 and 6. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall the end be? The end of these wonders, right? So you got a man on one bank of the river, on the shore of one side of the river, another man on the shore of the other side of the river, and the man clothed in linen standing on the water in the middle of the river. That's 3. So it's Michael that's on the water, right? Because that's him in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, on the water in the beginning. And then you got Gabriel on one bank and Raphael on the other bank. That's 3 angels that they're referring to right here. Okay, I just want to show you that.
Called Gabriel and Raphael, but expands upon this list, giving us 7 archangels, and sometimes even 8. Similar to the demon princes, there are numerous different classifications, each one with some slight variations in names and even the angels themselves. Today I'll be using the archangels referenced in the work of the Greek author known as Pseudo-Dionysius. So let's take a look at these archangels, who they were, and what roles they played in heaven. Archangel Michael is commonly depicted as a warrior or leader and appears in the New Testament, the Tanakh, and the Quran. When the Book of Revelation discusses the Great War in heaven, the dragon is defeated by Michael, who leads the army against the devil. For God to choose him to lead his army, he must have been stronger or at least a better leader than the other archangels. The Christian Church then saw Michael as a guide and the protector of the Christian armies against attacks from the devil and other heathen influence. Hence why when we see Michael depicted, it's a winged figure in armor with a great sword or a spear trampling on a dragon or the devil. The Catholic Church often refers to Michael as Saint Michael, and there are 4 roles he performs in their teaching. The first.
So let's look at that right quick. So he said that every time they show him he's he's a warrior angel and that he's got this sword with him, right? So and that depicting that, he's over Most High's army. You don't see in the scriptures, you don't see no other angel with this glistening sword but him. Right? So let's give you an example. Right quick. And notice how this is worded too when I read it. So I'm in Deuteronomy 32. And the thing about it is, when it's being broken down in this manner right here, it shouldn't be no pushback. It should be some oohs and ahs instead of pushback. Anyway, I'm in chapter 32, and I'm gonna start at verse. So notice what's going on when I'm reading it. It says, I'm gonna start at verse 32. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom, and the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, and their clusters are bitter. Their vine is the poison of dragons, and the cruel venom of apes. Is not this laid up in store with me? See that? Me. So it's me, is the Lord of hosts talking. We're gonna see that in a minute. Is not there these things laid up in store with me and sealed up among my treasures? To me belongeth vengeance. See that? So to him belongeth vengeance and recompense. So that means he's the angel that's overseeing, and he's the one brings vengeance and judgment. And their foot shall slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. For the Lord shall judge. See that? For the Lord, this Lord of hosts, shall judge his people. Okay, he inherited Israel, and repent himself of his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is none shut up or left. And he shall say, where are thy gods? They are rocking whom they trusted. So they kept worshiping these fallen angels, following after these Canaanites in the land of Canaan. And he gave them up. And so now they don't have no power. And they call him for their power, but he asking them, You know, what the other gods is that you were dealing with when I brought you there. So 38, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices and drink the wine of their drink offerings, and let them rise up and help you and be your protection. So just like they had to make sacrifices, animal sacrifices to him, these other angels required them to make sacrifices to them. Only it was human sacrifice. So he's telling them in 38, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices and drink the wine of their sacrifices, and let them rise up and help you and be your protection. So he's saying you sacrifice to them, your children, and you poured out wine, my wine to them. So let them help. So 39. Now here we go. Verse 39. See now that I, is the Lord of hosts, even I am he, and there is no God, small g, L, with me. I kill, I make alive, I wound, I heal, neither is there any that can deliver out of my hands. Can't nobody deliver out of his hands because he's the Lord of hosts. He's the deliverer of Israel. Ain't nobody, he's in charge of all that. Ain't no going up the ranks. He the one, he the man. You stop with him. So he says, 40, for I lift up my hands, right? See, he's showing you the order. For I lift up my hands to heaven to say, I live forever. So he raised his hands up to the Creator. The Pharaohs told us in Egypt that I'm in charge, and only me on my throne is greater than Joseph. The buck stopped with Joseph. I'm on the throne, but the buck stopped with Joseph. Joseph dictating everything. Same thing right here. So he let you know in verse 41 who he is. If I, with my glistening sword, just like the man just said on the video, I, with my glistening sword, and my hands take hold of judgment, I will render recompense to my enemies, and I will reward them that hate me, and I will make mine arrows drunk with blood, and my sword, the sword, shall devour all flesh, and that with the blood of the slain of the captives from the beginning of the revenge upon the enemies. So all this stuff can't be revealed, like I was saying before, until you get the right knowledge. So we see right here who that was. But if you don't have the understanding, the first thing you're gonna think is they're gonna tell you it's JC, or you're gonna believe it's Yahweh when it ain't.
First is the role we see most often. He is the leader of God's army, the angel who triumphs over the powers of hell, a symbol of the constant struggle from outside forces, as well as the conflict of one's own demons. His second role involved the afterlife. Michael would carry the souls of the deceased to heaven. Regardless of their actions whilst alive, they are given one last chance to redeem themselves, one last chance to battle the devil and their own sin. With him, Michael carries scales, because his third role was to weigh the souls. If the scales remained perfectly balanced, he would carry them to heaven. His fourth and final role was as the guardian of the church. We may go into more detail regarding Michael in the future, as he does appear in numerous cultures and religions, but for the most part he is portrayed as a spiritual warrior, leader, and defender against evil. Archangel.
So he just made a statement that he's a spiritual warrior, right? And this reason I'm showing, I keep going to this verse right here. In Genesis chapter 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And in verse 2, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God. He just told you he's a spirit. So there it is right there. Angel and spirit is synonymous. So they worded it right here like this here to throw you off. Because they don't want you, they already concocted the New Testament like he just did. He took Michael from being commander-in-chief over the Most High's armies to being commander-in-chief over the church. Okay?
Angel Gabriel, similar to Michael, appears in the three Abrahamic religions, but is instead considered the Holy Messenger, the Word of God. He appears to the prophet Daniel to explain his visions of the ram and the goat are related to the end of days. He also appears to Zechariah, informing him of the birth of John the Baptist. He does this again with the Virgin Mary, this time foretelling the birth of Jesus. Other than announcing the birth of children to their unknowing parents, Gabriel's name only appears a few times in Scripture. For those who remember, when we covered the Book of Enoch and the Watchers, Gabriel was the angel given the task of destroying the children of men born from sin, as well as the children of the Watchers. He does this by inciting a great battle between the children of men and the Nephilim. Enoch also describes Gabriel as one of the four figures he had seen in his vision. When he asks who these figures are, the response he is given is as follows. The first is Michael, the merciful and long-suffering, and the second, who is set over all disease and all the wounds of the children of men, is Raphael, and the third, who is set over all the powers, is Gabriel. Gabriel's appearance is an interesting discussion. Sometimes he appears as a man with a spear. Daniel describes his encounter with Gabriel as terrifying, so perhaps it refers to this more intimidating or imposing portrayal of Gabriel. We then also see Gabriel appear as a figure dressed in white carrying a scroll, similar to how he appeared to the Virgin Mary. Sometimes Gabriel is portrayed as a man with feminine characteristics, and other times it is almost impossible.
You see that? How absurd is that? See, but they got on the screen, they got Gabriel as a female. See that? That's what I mean. How far off we are as a people. And all these lies. And all this twisting of the scriptures.
Impossible to distinguish between the two. Now, all angels in general are gender neutral, given they can appear as whatever they like, but they are referred to as him fairly often. With Gabriel being a messenger and the midway point between God and humanity, I can somewhat understand being portrayed in a neutral, balanced, or almost hybrid way. Raphael.
You can't fool God. You can't cheat God. He knows who you are.
Raphael, whose name derives from the Hebrew meaning to heal, is an archangel mentioned in the Old Testament, the Book of Enoch, and the Quran. In the Book of Tobit, he appears to Tobias disguised as a human who accompanies him on his journey. The woman Tobias loved was plagued by the demon Asmodeus, and so Raphael gave Tobias a box containing fish entrails, telling him to burn the entrails before they were next visited by the demon. When Asmodeus came, they did as instructed, and the smell was enough to repel and wither Asmodeus until Raphael could later bind him. He then told Tobias to take the fish's eyes, grind them into a paste, and rub them over his blind father's eyes. When he did, his father's vision was restored, and thus Raphael has the association with healing and physicians. This also led to the belief that Raphael was the angel who guarded and stirred the waters in the pool of Bethesda, waters known for their magical healing properties. In Enoch 1, Raphael is the archangel entrusted to bind Azazel as well as the rest of the fallen watchers, and then throw them in the valley of fire. The Quran mentions an unnamed angel who eternally stands with a trumpet pressed against his lips, ready to announce the day of resurrection. This angel's name is thought to be Israfil, which is fairly close to Raphael, and thus the connection is drawn between them. Outside of the three angels just mentioned, the following four are normally interchanged and up for debate. The fourth archangel common in Christian belief is Uriel, an angel heavily associated with the sun, light, knowledge, and wisdom. Hence depictions of him carrying a large book or tome, as well as sometimes holding a flaming sword or simply a palm full of fire. When the prophet Ezra asks God a series of questions, Uriel is the angel sent to answer them. When Herod the Great ordered that all male children in Bethlehem 2 years old or younger would be executed, Uriel carried a young John the Baptist and his mother to safety, a story captured by Leonardo da Vinci in his painting Virgin of the Rocks. In the Book of Enoch, Uriel is the fourth angel to be named, and is mentioned in relation to Tartarus. Uriel, Gabriel, and Raphael were the angels who observed the fall of the Watchers and made the case for God to intervene and save humanity. Throughout the Book of Enoch, Uriel appears to Enoch himself and guides him, explaining and helping him interpret what his visions mean. The rest of the archangels on today's list are not really mentioned in scripture, more so works surrounding and relating to these religious texts and ideas, so we don't really know much as these descriptions are rather brief. Jophiel is considered the angel of beauty and is the only archangel consistently portrayed as a woman. Jophiel is also associated with wisdom, watching, understanding, and judgment. The name has been interpreted as Watchman of God, which refers to
Now, you listening to that?
Yes, sir.
See that? All this when the Greeks came on the scene.
Mm.
Twisted our scriptures all up. Is that something? So far, you got 3 women.
Jophiel as the guardian of the Torah, and in turn the guardian of wisdom. A trope you'll see often amongst the depiction of archangels are flaming swords, and Jophiel is commonly shown wielding one. Another archangel shown with a flaming sword is Camiel, the archangel of courage, strength, and war. Camiel is never mentioned in the Bible, but is considered an angel who is there to maintain peace and enforce justice by any means necessary. The poet Gustav Davidson includes Camiel in his work, A Dictionary of Angels.
Ain't that something? They comment. Okay. Says Isaiah 23:3 also will this apply to give context to the rivers. Let me see. Isaiah 23. Okay. 23 verse 3 says, and by great waters, the seed of Sihon The harvest of the river is her revenue, and she is a mark of nations. We go back up. It says, the burden of Tyre, how ye ships of Tarsus, for it is laid waste, so that there is no house, no entering in from the land of Chichim until it is revealed to them. Be still, ye inhabitants of the isles, thou whom the merchants of Zidon that pass over the sea have replenished, and they great and by great waters, the seed of Sihar, the harvest of the river, is her revenue, and she is the mark of our nation. So reading that right there, verses 1 all the way to 3, he's talking about first of all the inhabitants of the Chichim is Romans, right? And then it says the inhabitants of the isles. Let's take you to Genesis chapter 10, Gentiles, and it goes right along with what I said. They ain't Japhet ain't none of Noah's son. Because you see right here, these people they're not like Shem. They're different. And then it says that by great waters, that's where Tyre is sitting there. And the only way to enter it is by the sea. That's what it's talking about. It's saying, and it ain't nothing good about none of that. Okay? Let's look at it. Okay. Greeks and Palladians, special identity creators of Essos and parents of Alexander the Great. Right, yeah, exactly. So that, yeah, notice how they spelling that with an I, wasn't no J. So if you go to and get the original King James 16, you go get the 1619, 1611 King James Bible, you got Jesus spelled with an I, because that's who his name was, Issus. It wasn't no J. Right. So you're correct. Okay. Anybody else got any comments? Okay. With that being said, we're going to deal with a little bit of, give like a little introduction to the 2 o'clock clubhouse class, right? So we're gonna deal with we just dealt with the 707 angels, but I'm gonna deal with them from what our forefather Enoch said. We'll go into the book of Enoch and I'll read some of what he said about these 4 angels. Like I say, we're going to greater detail at 2 o'clock on the clubhouse. So right here, and we're not gonna go by what the Greeks and the Romans said. They didn't plagiarize. So I'm in Genesis chapter 20, and it says, Enoch is explaining to us who these 7 angels are. He says, and these are the names of the holy angels, which watch. Right? So when he tells you holy, means that these 7 angels were formed. These in the very beginning, he formed 7 angels. That's what making them holy. And if you understand where Israel came from, the nation of Israel, Jacob, they ascended from Adam, and Adam was formed. So that when he formed means that on a potter forms a piece of clay, he got to put his hands on it. He takes the clay and he shape it and make the pot. So he didn't speak the pot into existence. He had to put his hands on it. So it tells you that these 6 angels went and got water, clay, and everything they needed, and then he brought it to the Lord host, and he formed Adam with his hands. Put his hands on him. That's what made Adam holy. That's what made Israel and the man who he formed holy unto the Lord. That's why they're set apart people. They separated. He had to separate him from the man and the woman that he created on the 6th day. he separated them and put them in the garden. Just like he separated the Israelites and gave them a land of Canaan. They set apart people. So these 7 angels right here are set apart. That's why they holy. So he says in chapter 20 of Enoch, these are the names of the holy angels, right? They were formed, who watch. They're the eyes of the Lord. They watching for the Lord, for Yahweh. It says, who watch. Uriel, one of the holy ones, who is over the world of Tartarus. Raphael, one of the holy angels, who is over the spirits of men. Raquel, one of the holy angels, who takes vengeance on the world of the luminaries. Michael, one of the holy angels, to wit, he that is set over the best part of mankind and over chaos. So that's judgment. So Serquel, one of the holy angels, who was set over spirits, who seen in the spirit. Gabriel, one of the holy angels, who was over paradise and over serpents and cherubim. And then 7, Remiel, one of the holy angels, who God set over those that rise. So you see right here, these 7 angels, right here from the beginning, and they was formed. They're the ones that was there in the beginning. And so let me clarify something right quick. So that's why the scripture is saying this in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26. You know, ain't no other understanding that you can come to besides this if you trying to deal with the truth. So it says, chapter 1, verse 26. Chapter 1:26 says, and God said, let us make man in our image. So these 7 angels, they made in his image. He formed them with his hands. That's why they so personal to him. They been with him from the very beginning. These are 7 holy angels. So let's look at that. Do a precept on it right quick. So I'm in Daniel right quick. We're gonna see the separation. So let me get it. Okay. Okay, yeah. Let me get it. Yeah. Here we go. See. Okay. Give me a minute. So here you go. So this in Daniel chapter 4, when Nebuchadnezzar had a dream of the tree, and it says, let me get it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, chapter 4, verse 20, starting at verse 21, I start, says, 22, say, it is thou, O king, that are grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion is the end of the earth. The 23, here we go. And whereas the king saw a watcher, right? So a watcher is only 7 of them. They the eyes of the Most High. They run to and fro over the whole earth. They watching the Most High's creation for him. They watchers and they holy. That's only set. So it says, and whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one coming down from heaven and saying, hew down the tree, So we see there's two different types, classifications: the holy ones and his watchers. And they came down to bring judgment on Nebuchadnezzar for not doing what he's supposed to do. Was the Most High? He had got direct orders from the Most High, but he went away from that. And so he tells you a decree went down. Decree came about in heaven, and a watcher and a holy one came down. And you see that the watcher, the holy one, is controlling the watcher. And 200 watchers came down, left their estate and came down to the earth. And like I said, took wives from women on the earth, and they got giants on the earth. But these seven holy ones formed, and to this very day, they never veered away from the Most High. They do all this bidding for him, and out of those seven, Michael is over them. He's the Lord of hosts, and he's over the Most High's kingdom. He's the commander in chief of the Most High kingdom. And that's what Enoch conveyed to us. That's the reason they don't want us to. They put shade on the book of Enoch to keep you from reading it in spirit and in truth. They want to put it in a bad light. But, have you thinking that you can read it or you don't have to read it, when you have to read it in order to get to the truth. You got to deal with the book of Enoch. If you don't, then you'll never come to the truth. Okay. So, like I said, with that, we be going all the way in on this stuff, picking up from last night at 2:00 on Clubhouse, and the title of it is who is the Lord of Hosts in the Tanakh. So, with that being said, anybody got any comments or anything they want to bring out before we close out? Yeah. So, like I said before, I think we in for major league conversation at 2:00. So if you want to participate in it and be a part of it, or just listen in, we'll be on there at 2:00 until the conversation run out. On Clubhouse, we'll be in Prophet's Awakening room. So with that being said, I want to say shalom. And somebody got something?
You have another question in the chat.
Okay, let me see. Okay. I don't see it. Okay, I see it.
The prophecy question: is one of the men standing by the river mentioned at Daniel 8:6?
Let me see where it's at. Okay. Here you go, right here. It says, is one of the men standing by the river mentioned in Daniel 8:6. Let's look at it. Okay. Okay, I'm in Daniel 8:6.
Shine Lighthouse, while Brother Leonard is looking that up on Clubhouse, if you just follow Leonard Johnson, that will let you know when he is having a class, or either I can send you a link if you would like. But on Clubhouse, if you follow Leonard Johnson, that will take you to all of the classes he's having on Clubhouse.
Okay, yeah. So Daniel 8:6 is talking about Alexander the Great, and when he came in contact with Darius. That's the third beast taking taken over from the second beast. You go to Daniel chapter 11, says, also I, in the first year of Darius, right? That's the Medes, that's the second beast. Even I stood to confirm and strengthen him, right? Then it says, verse 2, and now I will show thee the truth. There shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than them all. And by his strength he shall and through his riches he shall stir up against the realm of the Grecian. That's Alexandria, right? They went to because of what happened with Artaxerxes. He went there and fought against and sacked. He went there and to fight against Greece, and he got embarrassed. So Darius always had a problem with that. So he went back and he destroyed the capital city of Greece. I can't think of the name of it. Yeah, he destroyed it, burned it down. That's what it means. He stirred up the realm of the Greeks. So that's what brought Alexander on the scene. And Alexander had got into a confrontation with Darius, the last king of the Medes and Persians, and he killed him. That's what Daniel 8 and 6 is talking about. It's not talking about angels. Daniel 8 and 6 says, okay, so it says, Daniel 8 and 6, and he came to the ram, right? That's the ram, is the Medes and Persians, second beast, that had 2 horns. That's the Medes and Persians, which was standing by the river, and he ran unto him with the fury of his power. That's Alexander. Alexander is the he-goat. So let's go back to the start of it. Verse 1, chapter 8, verse 1. In the 3rd year of his reign, I, Belteshazzar, it says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Belteshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, this Daniel, even with me, Daniel, after which appeared unto me in the first. I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram. That's the Medes and Persians, which had 2 horns. That's the Medes and Persians, and the 2 horns were high, and one was higher than the other. The Persian was greater than the Medes, and the other, the higher, came up last. That's Darius was far richer than all the rest of them. I just read that. It says, and I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out his hands. That's Medes and Persians. But he did that. He did according to his will, and he became great. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat, that's the Greeks, came from the west, and on the face of the whole earth, and he touched not the ground, and the great and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. This Alexander, the first king, and he came into verse 6, the one you're talking about. He came to the ram, that's the Medes and Persians, that had 2 horns, which he had seen standing before the river, and the ram, that's the Greeks. Alexander the first king, under him, and then ran under him with the fear of his power. Let's talk about 34 beasts. And Darius was over the second beast at that time. Alexander was over the 3rd beast, first king of the Greeks. So that's what that's talking about. And he explains it. Matter of fact, he explains it in Daniel 8, verse 18. Now, as I was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me, set me up right, and said in 19, and he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of indignation, for the time appointed end shall be. The ram, we're going to explain it right here, which thou saw were with the 2 horns, are the kings of the Medes and Persians, right? And the rough goat, he is the king of Grecia, right? and a great horn that is between his eyes is the first king, Alexander. Right? Okay. So to answer the question, no. So one of those men, the men that we was talking about, Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, not, they don't have nothing to do with Daniel 12, 8 and 6. That's Darius, second Darius, the last king of Medes and Persians, and Alexander, the first king of the Greeks. Okay. Okay, so with that being said, like I said, I was gonna say I'm gonna see everybody at 2:00 so we can get into that the breakdown of who the Lord of Hosts is and everything that's surrounding that. Okay, that way you can get to read these scriptures to knock in spirit and in truth. So I'm gonna say shalom, and I'm gonna see everybody at 2:00. And don't forget, we got to be back here again at 6 for the evening Sabbath Class. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.